Hello guys, and welcome to another video in the Anki Add-on guide series. Today we will be looking at a number of ways in which you can adjust how the content on your cards is formatted. This is quite important, not only because formatting your cards allows you to just have a more aesthetically pleasing experience when going through your reviews, but also because structuring your cards properly through the right formatting can also have benefits in retaining that specific information. The first thing I want to do in this video is just introduce you to how formatting in Anki works. There are multiple levels in which you can format the content you add into Anki, and I want to present each of them and just give you a quick understanding of what they actually do in Anki. The second thing, and the most important thing I want to cover in this video, is the Power Format Pack, which is pretty much the preeminent add-on in formatting your cards. And the last thing I want to do is just give you a quick overview of a number of other smaller add-ons which allow you to add a specific tool or different feature that allows you to format one specific part of your cards, just in case you're overwhelmed by the feature set provided by the Power Format Pack and just want to adjust one specific feature. Alright, let's start and take a look at how card formatting in Anki works. Now there are two levels to this. The one level that applies to all of your cards at once, and the level that only applies to a specific card. To adjust the formatting of your entire collection, or at least all of your notes of a specific note type, you can go into the card template editing screen, which is this one right here. And the things you can adjust here are both which elements are presented on your cards, but also how they are presented using different styles. This menu or this screen works in the same way pretty much as formatting a website. You've got your HTML code up here, which defines the elements that are presented on the screen, and also the CSS code right here, which allows you to adjust the styling of it. Things that you can do here, for instance, are to adjust the font size or the font family of your cards. For instance, we could change the font family attribute here to Comic Sans, and that would then change that styling on all of your cards at once. Now, of course, using Comic Sans is a terrible thing to do, so we will undo this right away. But I think you get the idea. You can use this section to just adjust all of the settings, all of the formatting of your cards at once. But in some instances, you might want to just adjust the content of one specific note, and you might want to add different elements in one specific field. And the way you do that is by using the formatting buttons in the editor section. And these buttons up here, which are provided by Anki by default, include things like changing the formatting of the text to bold, using italics, or also the ability to insert superscript or subscript. In general, though, these options are pretty limited, so I think Anki only comes with these 6 or 7 formatting options by default. And of course, if you're used to using Word or other document processors, then these will be rather limited, of course. And that's exactly where all of the add-ons come in that I want to present in this video. Now, the first one, the Power Format Pack, is already visible in this screen. As you can see, the number of toolbar buttons is greatly extended, and that's all the work of the Power Format Pack. So all of these different formatting options you see right here are added by this add-on. And of course it's quite a few options, so I will probably not be able to cover all of these in this video, but the thing I want to do though is just highlight a number of them which I use the most in my daily Anki use. To demonstrate this, I will create a new note and just go over each of these features that I use daily. The most important ones really, and the ones I probably use 20 or 30 times each time I add cards to my collection, are the list toggles, which you can find up here. These allow you to insert different lists into your cards. The first one, a simple bullet point list or unordered list, and the second one allows you to insert a numbered list with different types of enumeration. So if you click this, you will be presented with a selection screen where you just can choose between different enumeration styles. I usually use the first one, which is the default one, and this works in the same way as in Word or any other Office processor. And of course, what you can also do with this is create sublists, or rather adjust the indentation of these items. For this, you can use the buttons up here, the indent button and outdent button. So that's how you can use these features to just quickly create enumerations and lists on your cards, which is great, of course, for medicine or any other subject where you will find a lot of information formatted in that way. Okay, so that's the first thing, and the second one, which is equally important to me, is the ability to insert tables into your note. For this, you can use the button up here, and this will allow you to define the dimensions of the table. So let's use a small one for this example. And doing that will then insert the table straight away into your cards. And as you can see, it already uses a quite a pleasant formatting with a header section and different columns in different fonts. What I usually use this formatting option for is to create close note types, or to create closed notes. To demonstrate this, I will quickly switch to the overlapping close note type, because that's what I usually use with tables. And in medicine, you usually you often run into circumstances where you have a comparison between different diseases or other entities. And for those cases, using tables can be very time efficient, because you don't have to go over several dozen different basic cards where you just ask for a specific property of that specific disease. So for instance, if we have disease A and disease B, what I usually do is I just close out each of these cells with a close overlapper. And as far as the settings are concerned, I don't use the defaults, because the defaults, which I can show you right here, the defaults will provide you with context. So if I'm prompted for this cell right here, then I will be provided with this context here, which might make sense in this case, because you might be able to compare disease A to B. But in the next case, where we have this cell here versus this one, you'll see that this doesn't really make sense. There is no reason why I should be able to see this as a hint to answer this question. So for that reason, what I usually use for tables is this configuration right here, where I just disable all of the context, both for the items before it and the items after it. And as you can see, having done that, I'm now prompted for each of these items individually without having the context by any of the other cells. And this is very useful. It's pretty much the same as an image occlusion. It's just a non-overlapping type of prompt where you just asked about that specific feature of a disease. So for instance, if this, the first row would be, for instance, the incidence, the next one might be the prevalence between different genders, then instead of having to phrase a basic card for each of these, for instance, the first one asking what is the incidence of disease A and what is the incidence of disease B, what you now have is just one single note where you're asked about that specific feature without having to create all of these individually, which can, as I said before, can save quite a lot of time. So that's what this table is useful for, at least one example where you can use it, but I'm sure there are multiple or hundreds of different ways you can use tables in Anki cards, so this is a very useful thing and probably one of the most important features of this add-on. And one quick side note about this, the add-on also supports adding your tables in a different way. Instead of first defining the number of columns and rows like you would when just clicking on the button, what you can also do is just type your table in, and for that you use a specific syntax, which is this one right here. So you pretty much just separate the different cells using these pipe symbols. And what you can also do is use dashes and pipes to just signify the first section as being a header. So this one separates this section of the first row from this row right here. Having typed the syntax in, you just have to then highlight it and click on the table button again, and the add-on will automatically then generate the table based on that content. Once again, great way to just save a lot of time, not having to type in or not having to switch between each of these cells constantly. So yeah, that's the table feature. The next thing I want to demonstrate is the hyperlink feature, which is also very important, especially if you want to refer to different sources, external resources or websites. For this you can use the button up here, the link button. And as you're probably used to, if you've used a forum or website before where you can create hyperlinks like this, you can both define the website you're linked to and also the text that's displayed. And if you want to undo this, you can then highlight the hyperlink and then just click on this unlink button up here. So yeah, very convenient feature and also a great thing about this add-on. Aside from these, just a quick shout out to the rest of the features without going too much into the detail. You can also adjust the alignment of text. Other things you can do is, for instance, you can insert headings, which allow you to structure your cards if you're dealing with especially if you're dealing with longer text in a field. And as far as structuring is concerned, you can also use this button up here, which will create horizontal rules, which is also quite useful. And as far as simple formatting is concerned, you can also strike through text. You can insert, or rather create code blocks, and that means you pretty much create areas that use a mono-spaced font. You can use this if you're dealing with source code. You can then use this to just adjust the syntax highlighting in this area by editing the card template, but that's a bit more advanced, so maybe something I will cover in one of the future videos. So yeah, that's as far as the general formatting options are concerned. One last thing I wanted to present, and which is also a highlight of this add-on, is the ability to use Markdown in your notes. Now, for this I want to just quickly go into the options menu, because this feature is not active by default, but you can activate it by going to Tools, Power Format Pack, Add-on Options, and in here then just clicking on this button here. I've already done that, so for demonstration purposes I can now just show you how this works. So basically, just so you understand what Markdown is, if you haven't worked with this before, it's a markup language similar to HTML. That means that instead of using buttons like this one up here to define how your text is formatted, what you can do instead with a markup language is type the formatting inline with a text. So for instance, in Markdown you can use 2 asterisks to highlight a specific section and mark it as bold. This, if you're a very keyboard-centric user, then this can be quite useful, because instead of having to move to your mouse and click on the button, or even having to highlight the text and then using a shortcut, you can just type the formatting in as you go along. If you've used websites like GitHub before or Reddit, then you will probably be familiar with this formatting. It's the same exact syntax that's also present on those websites. The way you use this add-on is pretty much you just type in the text you'd like in Markdown and then use the button up here to convert the text into the formatting you'd like to see. So in this case, boldened text. And if you want to go back to actually editing your code, then once again you just click on the button and then you can continue inserting whatever Markdown syntax you want to use. Very convenient, really. It's a very convenient feature if you're used to using Markdown. For instance, if you're a programmer, work with a lot of documentation, README files, etc., then you'll probably be very familiar with README, with Markdown. So then the transition to Anki will be much easier using this add-on. Okay, so that's as far as the actual features of this add-on are concerned. I want to quickly demonstrate how to configure it. We've already seen how to invoke the options dialog, but let's go over the other options quickly. The first one here is quite important if you just want to use a subset of the functionality. You can use the toggles here to disable specific buttons in the editor, which can just save you a bit of space, especially if you're using other add-ons that also add new toolbar buttons. And you can also adjust how the toolbar is extended, how the buttons of the add-on are presented, either adjacent to the other buttons or at completely different positions. The other thing you can customize here, and something I usually do, is to just set a fixed ordered list type. Set a fixed type for the ordered lists. So if you activate this, if you remember, as we saw before, when adding a enumeration into your notes with the add-on, you're usually presented with a selection screen where you can select between different types of enumerations. But if you don't want to do that, if you're just content in using the same enumeration type again and again, then you can use this feature here to just not be prompted with that dialog anymore, which can be quite convenient. And the last section here, which is also important, is the ability to change how tables are formatted. By default, as we saw before, it uses a custom predefined formatting. In this case, I think it was colored blue and with the first row highlighted and bolded. All of this can be customized, of course, if you're familiar with CSS and if you're familiar with customizing your card templates. Then instead of using this predefined formatting, what you can do is just activate, or rather deactivate, this option, and then use your card templates to target the table and change how it's formatted. So as we saw in the first part of the video, you can customize how cards are displayed globally, and you can do the same, of course, for any type of element on your cards, including tables. And by disabling this option, you can then use custom ways to change the appearance of your table. Once again, more of an advanced feature, but if you're familiar with CSS, HTML, etc., then this is a great way to add some personal styling to your tables. And of course, there are also a lot of other options concerning Markdown generation, which I don't want to go too much into this video. All of these options and all of the ways to use the add-on are also documented in the manual of the add-on, and you can invoke this from within Anki itself, just by going into Tools, Power Format Pack, Options, and then clicking on Documentation. And once again, this add-on author has taken great care and has taken a lot of time to document all of these features in great detail. So if you want to read more into how to use this add-on, how to use specific features and all of the details you need to use them, then make sure to check this out. It's a great resource and very extensive, so it's a great way to read up on how to use the add-on. One last thing I wanted to demonstrate though is this part right here, which is defining custom key bindings for your for the different buttons of the add-on. Now, because this add-on adds so many different buttons to the editor screen, and because there are also a lot of other add-ons that also add their own toolbar buttons, you can sometimes run into constellations where one add-on conflicts in its key bindings with another, and in those cases using the key bindings usually won't work, because the Anki doesn't know what to do, right? Because two functions are assigned to the same hotkey. To change these bindings for this add-on specifically, what you can do is you can modify a configuration file which is found in the add-ons directory. Once again, as I've demonstrated in the first video in this series, you can open the add-ons directory by going to Tools, Add-ons, and then clicking on Open Add-ons folder. And in this case, we will be navigating to the Power Format Pack directory, and in here you will have to locate the key bindings file. And this file might look a bit complicated, but it's very easy actually to edit. You have a section up here which explains how to use this, but the actual configuration part is down here. You basically just have to modify the second part of each of these lines, and as you can see, these are simple textual assignments to different hotkeys. And if you want to modify them, you can just use, for instance, change the definition list to Alt plus Shift plus D. Just make sure to use the right syntax or use the right designators for the different keys, and you should be fine. If you modify this, if you assign a wrong hotkey here or use the wrong syntax, don't worry, the add-on will automatically default to the normal key binding. So you can just experiment with this a bit, see what works for you, and then use this to modify the bindings for different functions of the add-on. Okay, so that's as far as the Power Format Pack is concerned. Now, as the last part of the video, as I said before, I wanted to just give you a quick overview of other smaller add-ons that also allow you to adjust the formatting of your cards. And for this I will just showcase the add-on descriptions, because the functionality is very similar to the one we've just seen before in the Power Format Pack add-on. The first one is the Power Create Lists add-on, which allows you to create different types of lists, as the name of course implies. It allows you to pretty much do the same thing as the Power Format Pack. It allows you to create both numbered lists and unordered lists, and also to indent them in different ways. This add-on is of course way more lightweight than Power Format Pack, because it's just that one specific feature that it supports. So if you're only interested in creating lists, then this is a great way to just add that functionality without having to install all of the Power Format Pack in Anki. The second add-on, similar in concept to the first one, also a single purpose add-on, allows you to create additional, or to create tables in your cards. It's called the Better HTML table add-on because there is also a second one which has a few problems, and this one is an updated version of that. It works in the same way as the Power Format Pack. It just allows you to define the different columns and rows you want to add to your table. The one thing this one does not support is the ability to create tables using the syntax we saw before with the different pipes and dashes. So that's a pretty unique feature of the Power Format Pack add-on. But if you don't need that and just want to create tables quickly, and this is a great way to do this using this add-on right here. Outside of these add-ons, there are also a number of other formatting add-ons. You just pretty much just use the search functionality on the add-ons overview page, and you will find a lot of different ways to format your notes. For instance, this one right here, which is one of my own add-ons, which will just allow you to adjust the indentation of paragraphs. Once again, this is also something that the Power Format Pack supports itself, but if you're just after indenting different areas of your text, then this again is a quick way to just provide that single purpose in Anki. Alright, I think that's it as far as the formatting options in Anki are concerned. As you've seen, there are a lot of different ways to structure your cards and adjust their formatting, and I think this is a great way both to make the experience more pleasing to the eye, but also to make just structure information in a more in a way that will make it much easier for you to actually memorize it as time goes by. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm not sure yet what the next one will be about, but as there are about 300 different add-ons, I'm sure I will find a nice topic. Of course, if you guys have any specific ideas or any specific topics you'd like me to cover, make sure to comment below. I'm always open to suggestions, and I'm always very happy for them. Until the next video, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've learned something new with this one. Good luck with your studies, and see you soon. Bye.